Hi everyone. You just are finishing up your first introduction unit in chemistry, and so I thought I would just make this video to kind of wrap it up. I know all of you have seen each other's work and had a chance to comment. The purpose of the first intro unit was to help develop your knowledge about how chemistry is going to be taught this year and understand the expectations. It was also to give you a chance to work with the technology and to work through some problems and to see how the grading works. So how does grading work in Schoology? And then how do you submit assignments in Schoology and how do they go into PowerSchool? So we worked through some of that. And then also an introduction to the lab equipment that you might be using and also lab safety, so how to use it safely. So then at the end of the unit, Learning Target 5 just asked that you kind of put everything together, your lab equipment and your knowledge of lab safety, to do a lab investigation. And you didn't have a whole lot of direction with the lab investigation on purpose because I wanted, as a teacher, to have a chance to just monitor you and observe you as you did what you thought was an investigation to get the answer to a question. So the key question was, how are these two pieces of matter different on a very, very tiny level? What makes them different? So some of you had a couple of different pieces of wood. Some of you might have had different pieces of metal. And some of you might have chosen to use two different materials but similar shape and size. So this is just wood and metal. And some of you at home may have used some liquids or whatever you had sitting around. And the point was for you to have a lab experience where you try to get to the answer to a question based on your own macroscopic measurements. So basically things like mass and volume and length and weight, and maybe even by observing texture and color and looking through the magnifying glass and really getting curious about what makes up different materials and how does the structure at a tiny, tiny level, like tiny level that you can't even see with a microscope, how does that structure and how do those particles give each material the properties that they have? So that investigation gives you a chance to do some real chemistry, do some real designing and planning and conducting of your own investigation, which is what scientists do, and then to use that information to try to develop a model or an idea of what you think is inside of the material at the tiniest level. So the good thing is we're about to start Unit 1, which is all about the particles that make up all the matter around us. So we're going to get to the bottom of that question. Why are these materials different? So the first unit is called the Atom Part 1, and it's all about thinking about atoms, but specifically about the nucleus of an atom, so even smaller than atoms. So you all learned a little bit or reviewed a little bit about mass, volume, and length. And you were supposed to be using that information to think about those particles inside of the material. And some of you even talked about density, which is great because, density is a way of saying, well, these two materials have a very similar volume. This one is much heavier, so this one must be more dense. And so what does that mean? And the truth is, the density is different. There may be some other things inside that are different as well. The same thing for the pieces of metal. One of them is definitely heavier than the other one. One piece of metal is very light. So thinking about what is density and why is this one heavy and this one light, and then sketching that out was very important for you to get you ready to be thinking about atoms in our first unit. So I just wanted to wrap up the unit by giving you this video that says, this is what you were supposed to learn in the first unit. You probably didn't walk away with a clear idea of exactly why these two things are different, but you started thinking about it and you started using some of the measurements that you've learned to make some inferences about what's going on inside of each different material. So I hope you enjoyed the unit, and we're going to continue to work on developing your own investigations And also we're going to work on the other 8 practices that scientists use every day, and get better at them over the course of each unit. Okay, so I look forward to the next unit with you.